Yo, what is going on YouTube, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is your boy Jay bringing us another 2023 NFL Round 1 mock draft. And this one is pretty weird. I made it last night and I wanted to make it a little different, a little unique, different than most mock drafts. So there are some pretty weird trades and picks in this one, but I hope we can discuss it and I can kind of explain some of my picks to you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you all are having a good Easter as well, spending time with your friends and family today. But without further ado, let's just get to the video. At pick number 1, we have the Carolina Panthers, and if you've watched any of my other mock drafts, you know I'm very high that they take CJ Stroud. I probably will do a mock draft here and there where they go Bryce Young. If they don't go CJ Stroud, it's going to be Bryce Young. It's not going to be Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. So this one, no different though. They go CJ Stroud. Texans at number 2 go Bryce Young. And this one is pretty weird, but I figured for the quarterbacks, I wanted to keep it pretty normal with the Panthers and Texans. I probably will do a mock draft for Panthers go Bryce Young and the Texans go like Anthony Richardson or something. That one will be interesting. I'll do that one in a later date. This one though, I wanted to keep it pretty basic just because there are some weirder picks in the mock draft. So CJ Stroud at 1, Bryce Young at 2. And I think the Texans are fine with Bryce Young. Whoever they get, they're not going to be complaining. Up next is the Cardinals, and I had them going Jalen Carter in my last mock draft. I think it's a very big possibility. I think they need help on that interior D-line, especially with J.J. Watt retiring. They want to find an instant impact player. Jonathan Gannon, who is a defensive-minded head coach, I think he's going to look at the best defensive player available, and it comes down to, do you think Jalen Carter or Will Anderson is better? But you also have to consider the off-field issues. Who knows? I think it's more likely they go Will Anderson, so for this one, we will go Will Anderson. I think they could also look to trade down here. I don't really see a team wanting to trade up that much. So for this one, Will Anderson. And again, I could see them going Jalen Carter. I think I'm higher on it than most people. But for this one, we will go Will Anderson because I do think that's the more likely option. Up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts. And this is where it gets a little interesting. We have a trade. Now, they go out and they trade for Lamar Jackson. But the interesting thing is they don't give up any 2023 draft capital. I saw a couple of people saying there's a chance that the Colts trade for Lamar Jackson after the draft this year, which I think is possible. So for this one, the Ravens give up Lamar Jackson. In return, they get both 2024 and 2025 first rounders, a 2024 second, a 2025 third, and maybe a 138 in 2023. And, in that case, obviously they would have to trade before the draft, but maybe they just want more draft capital for the 2024 and 2025 drafts. Another interesting point I heard someone say is you look at the 2024 draft with quarterbacks, it is absolutely loaded. Caleb Williams, Drake May. I'm not even going to name all the quarterbacks just because it is such a stacked quarterback class. So someone made the point, and they said if the Ravens get a lot of draft capital for next year in 2025, they could use some of that capital to move up in the draft to take the quarterback of their choice. And you look at this, they have 2 first rounders, 2 second rounders in 2024, and then an additional third rounder in 2025. They could use a lot of that to move up higher in the 2024 draft to take the quarterback of their choice. So I am going to take the 138 out just to make it make more sense, and that they trade for Lamar Jackson after the draft. So they're giving up their 2024 and 2025 first rounders, a 2024 second, and a 2025 third rounder for Lamar Jackson. It is a lot, but in return, they do get to keep their 4th overall in 2023. So they trade away Lamar Jackson. Now they have their 4th overall. They get to keep it, though. They have their 4th overall, and who do they take with that 4th overall? Now, I'm looking at Jalen Carter. He's on the board. I think they do need a little interior help, but I'm looking at the cornerbacks. They just lost Stephon Gilmore in free agency, and I'm a big fan of Kenny Moore. I think he's underrated, and I hope he can pop off in 2023 and kind of show his true potential, but I still think you want to get a cornerback who can play on the outside, who's big and physical. Kenny Moore is only 5'10 or 5'11, I believe. So I still think you're looking for that big outside cornerback. He also plays primarily in the nickel. So I think if you can get Christian Gonzalez, who is my cornerback 1, to play on the outside, big, physical, that would be a lockdown duo. And again, you could look at Jalen Carter. You could look at a guy like Tyree Wilson. I do think they need a little help on the defensive front, but you pair a 6'3" cornerback and Christian Gonzalez on the outside with an inside cornerback and Kenny Moore. I think that's a lethal duo, and I like it. Pick number 5, we have Seattle, and I think they go Jalen Carter. In most mock drafts, I have them going Carter as long as he's available. I think the off-field issues are kind of a mute issue to the Seahawks organization. They've been known to take gambles on players with off-the-field issues before. They need desperate help on the interior. Their run defense was ranked 30th last year, and I know you could take a guy like Tyree Wilson, but to me, the inside, they need help on the run, and I think Jalen Carter is the perfect guy for that. And again, you look past the off-field issues, and you just cannot pass up on the sheer talent on such a desperate need you need. Now, this is where it gets crazy again. At pick number 6, we have the Lions. And I know, Anthony Richardson and Will Levis are still on the board. And I know a lot of people have them trading up with the Cardinals to take one of them. I have them trading down right here. I don't have them taking one of them. And the thing to me that I don't get what other people are saying is, yes, ideally it is great to take a developmental quarterback that you can sit on the bench for a few years behind Jared Goff and come in a few years and take over that franchise and lead it to destiny. I know it sounds ideal, but to me, I look at the Lions. I look there in the division where the Vikings are going to be worse. The Packers are going to be worse. The Bears are improving, but they're still rebuilding. The Bears aren't going to be that good. The Lions have potential to make a serious push in the playoffs if they can get a few more pieces. I don't get why people think they should take a developmental quarterback in Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. And again, it sounds great, but when you are just a few key pieces away from making a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl, in my opinion, I don't think a developmental quarterback at your highest pick is worth it. So I'm looking at the Lions. Again, I see them. I see that. I know everyone's going to think it's crazy. I'm looking at Tyree Wilson. Do I want to go Tyree Wilson here? I think they trade back because of the pure draft capital they could gain with Anthony Richardson and Will Levis on the board. And I have the Washington Commanders trading up in this one. Now, I will say I'm a big believer in Sam Howell, and I think he deserves a fair shot. But to me, I look at it as Jacoby Brissett on a one-year deal is going to lead your team for this next season. You can have Sam Howell and then the other quarterback of your choice who you trade up to get at 6 to sit behind and develop behind Jacoby Brissett. And at the end of next year and going into 2024, you can choose the quarterback who you believe developed faster and is more ready to lead your team. Rather it be Sam Howell or rather it be the quarterback you trade up to get at 6. I think to me that's ideal. And basically you have the veteran quarterback who Jacoby Brissett's a veteran. You let him lead the team. You sit 2 rookies, and not a rookie, but 1 rookie and 1 second-year player behind him. Let them learn, let them develop, and then you choose your starting quarterback in 2024. So Lions give up their 6th. The Commanders give up their 16th, 47th, and 97th. I don't exactly know how a trade like that would go, but to me, they give up a 1, 2, 3. I like it. Forced to trade. So the Commanders, the Commanders trade up for their quarterback, and the Lions get a lot more draft capital. And again, I think seeing Jalen Carter off the board, seeing Will Anderson off the board, it's going to be pretty standard. I think the only other player I'm looking at, and Christian Gonzalez, I think if Christian Gonzalez was on the board still, I'm looking at him, but he's off the board. You could go Devin Witherspoon. You could go a guy like Tyree Wilson, but I think the draft capital you gain is the bigger reward. So the Commanders trade up and they go Anthony Richardson at pick 6. They gave up a lot of draft capital, gave up a 1, 2, 3, but you did get a quarterback who has a ton of potential and who can sit under Jacoby Brissett for a year. Up next, we have the Raiders at pick 7. Will Levis on the board is very intriguing. I don't have them going Will Levis here at pick 7. I think there's a good shot they could, but for this one, we're going to keep it interesting, and they're not going to go Will Levis, and they're actually going to go with a defensive tackle in Kalijah Kinsey. Last season, their defensive running game finished 19th, nearly bottom 20, and Kalijah Kinsey is very good in my opinion. He's an absolute freak athlete, and they do need help in the secondary. I could see them going a guy like Devon Witherspoon there at pick 7, but I think getting a young defensive tackle who is a freak athlete and has potential to be an incredible tackle is too good to pass up on. And I think when you have a young secondary who's developing, putting pressure on the quarterback with your defensive front is something that is a major help to that secondary. And I could see them trading down with Will Levis on the board. I could see a team like the Bucs jumping up. But if I'm the Raiders, I do see Kalijah Kinsey, and I don't think he's going to be there. Like, if the Bucs wanted to trade up, I don't think Kalijah Kinsey would be there at 19. So I'm going ahead, and I'm taking Kalijah Kinsey at my pick 7 spot. And again, Will Levis is on the board. I see that, but you have to fix that defense, and your interior on the defense needs help. I know you could go Tyree Wilson as well, but I think if you can fix that interior first, that would be much better. And again, Devon Witherspoon, I see it. Will Levis still there, but we're keeping it interesting. I told you guys this was a crazy mock draft, and I like Kalijah Kinsey a lot. I think he has potential to be like the next mini Aaron Donald. He has a lot of similarities as him. He's a freak athlete, and I think if the Raiders can get him, develop him, and he's going to be a major addition for years to come. Next up, we have the Falcons, and I could see them looking to trade down here at pick 8, but Tyree Wilson still on the board is a win for the Falcons, I think. You're looking to trade down because in most scenarios, Tyree Wilson isn't going to be there at 8, but you see him at 8. You need desperate help on the edge, and I think it's a no-brainer. I could see them going someone like Devon Witherspoon to kind of lock down that secondary with A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates, but for this one, we look at the defensive front now. Get someone like on the interior, you got Grady Jarrett. Now you can kind of look at the edge and you get Tyree Wilson. I think that is a major addition, and I like it. Again, I could see them going someone like Lucas Van Ness as well, but I think Tyree Wilson, who is just so explosive and has such a high ceiling, is just too good to pass up on, especially at pick 8. Number 9, we have the Chicago Bears, and I have them going Paris Johnson. I already picked on an accident. I don't think they trade down. In my last mock draft, I had them trading down. Not in this one. I think they choose the offensive tackle of their choice to protect Justin Fields, and they go with the best left tackle in the class in Paris Johnson and protecting Justin Fields' blindside. The amazing thing about Paris Johnson, he gets so good at left tackle, but you can also kick him in the guard if you need to. He's very versatile, not as versatile as people think, and I love Paris Johnson. I'm an Ohio State fan, so obviously I'm going to have some bias towards him, but to me, he's my tackle one. Like I said, he's an amazing left tackle, but he can also kick in the guard, so I like him. I think he's Justin Fields in long-term protection at left tackle, and I like him at pick 9. At pick number 10, we have the Eagles, and I'm looking to trade down here. Will Levis is still on the board. Who's a team that wants to jump up for Will Levis? The Buccaneers. I believe this is the second mock draft I've uploaded where the Buccaneers jump up for Will Levis, and I have them going up 1950 and maybe 153 for Will Levis. They don't have, I don't know, I could, you know what, we'll just say 1, 2, 3, first, second, third, for the pick 10. I could see, I don't know, seems like a lot. I could see them not giving up the 82 and going 153, but for this one, we'll give up 82, just keep it basic. Force the trade. The Eagles trade down. I think it's a great deal for the Eagles as well. They still stay in the range where you can get an explosive player on the defensive front. You add some more draft capital. I like it. The Bucs trade up, get Will Levis. Similar to what I said with the Commanders trading up, I think you're going to have Baker Mayfield, who's an experienced quarterback, may not be a veteran, but he's experienced. He can lead the team for the next year. He's only on a 1-year contract, and then Kyle Trask and Will Levis sit behind for a year and develop. I could see Kyle Trask being the starter if he really develops. I mean, he has been in Tampa Bay for like 3 or 4 years now and had time to develop. But who knows? I could also very well see them going Will Levis if it comes down between them. It just kind of depends, but I like it. You can have 2 younger quarterbacks sitting behind and watching an experienced player play for the next season, and then maybe even midway through the season kind of experiment with the 2 of them. Who knows, but I like it. You get some quarterback competition in Tampa Bay. Next up, we got the Titans, and you guys know I'm very high on them taking Peter Skoronski at pick 8. And again, I know all the receivers in the world are available to you. I like it. Dalton Kincaid even. I mean, you have such a good receiving core you could choose from, but to me, I've said it 1,000 times, if you don't have a good offensive line, it doesn't matter if it's the Hall of Fame team behind you at quarterback and receiving core, you need to have a good offensive line first because nothing else is going to matter. And I also believe in Treylon Burks. I'm a Treylon Burks believer. I think you get him a solid offensive line to give him time to run routes and develop. I think Treylon Burks can be a receiver 1. Give him another year or 2 to develop. I like him. So I don't think wide receiver, I mean, they do need help in the receiving core, but to me, you have to fix that offensive line. Peter Skoronski, who can play tackle. There were talks that he's kind of too short to play tackle, and if not, that's fine. You can kick him in the guard. To me, it doesn't really matter because you need help all over that offensive line. I could see them going someone like Broderick Jones, who would play primarily left tackle to replace Taylor Lewan, but to me, I like Peter Skoronski because he can play tackle. I don't really care what the reports say if he's too short. He played tackle at Northwestern, and I think he can in the NFL too. He might just need to take time to develop, but while he's developing, you can kick him in the guard, so I like Peter Skoronski to the Titans. At pick number 12, we have the Texans, and with pick 2, they went with Bryce Young. He fell to them. Who are they going to go with next? I could see them going defender here, someone on the defensive front at pick 12. D'Amico Ryans is a defensive-minded coordinator or head coach. Could see them going with someone like Lucas Van Ness. Kalijah Kensey's off the board. I don't really see them going. I mean, I could see them going Brian Brzee, actually. For this one, though, I'm going to keep it kind of basic. I have them going Jackson Smith-Njigba, but I think D'Amico Ryans understands the importance of getting Bryce Young a true wide receiver 1. And they have John Mechie, who I think a lot of people are forgetting about, and reuniting him with Bryce Young, I think is going to be a very good receiver-quarterback duo. For this one, though, we get a true slot receiver who can be kicked out wide if need be. I think that is a very good weapon of a versatile young offensive wide receiver. I like it. He has great hands, smooth route runner. Like I said, he's diverse. He can play out wide, but he can also play a true slot receiver if you want him to. I really like him. He's my wide receiver 1. And again, he went to Ohio State, so I'm probably a little biased, but I love Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think he can do it all, and I think he's a great complementary to Bryce Young. At pick 13, we have the Jets. This is an interesting one. I do have them trading for Aaron Rodgers, but I have them keeping their 13th overall pick. It is clear they really do not want to give it up. So Aaron Rodgers, not Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, and they give their 42nd, 43rd, and we'll say a third rounder in 2024. It could be something like that, or maybe third rounder in 2023. We'll say that. And then maybe a fourth rounder in 2024, something like that, because they really don't want to give up their 13th overall. So we force the trade. They get Aaron Rodgers. In return, they get a lot of second and third round capital for the Packers. Who do they take at pick 13? I think it's pretty obvious they're going to go tackle here if they do manage to land Aaron Rodgers. They want to protect him. They have Micah Becton on the right tackle. I think you look at left tackle, I like Anton Harrison. He's a humongous guy. I believe he's like 6'5", 350 some pounds. He's an absolute brick wall, and you protect Aaron Rodgers as much as possible. At pick 14, we have the Patriots, and this is interesting. You never know who they're going to take. I hate being a Patriots fan on draft night because they always surprise you. They never go with the obvious choice. For this one, we're going to keep it kind of... I look at the board. Devon Witherspoon is still there. I could see them going Devon Witherspoon. Now, I don't think cornerback is our biggest need since we did re-sign Jonathan Jones. I think it's more of like a second or third round option, especially with this being a very cornerback-heavy class. I'm looking at Quentin Johnson. He's still on the board, and I think we really need that alpha receiver. I could see us going Zay Flowers. I think Tyquan Thornton is going to be more of our Zay Flowers as he continues to develop in his year 2. Hopefully, he can kind of add some mass to him and get a little bigger and develop in year 2. I like Quentin Johnson just because he's an alpha receiver. He's big, he's tall, he has great run after the catch upside, great hands. Not necessarily like the smoothest route runner or elusive player, but he's just so big, physical, great hands, strong, and incredibly fast. So I like Quentin Johnson getting Mac Jones, kind of your alpha receiver 1. And I think he would kind of complete the receiving core for the Patriots as long as Tyquan Thornton can develop. You got Quentin Johnson, Kendrick Bourne, who I think can step up and play a bigger role hopefully in 2023, and I think that receiving core would be looking nice for the Patriots if you can land Quentin Johnson. At pick 15, we have the Packers, and it is Jordan Love's era. I think the obvious primary needs are getting him as many weapons as possible to make him feel safe and comfortable. I think that starts with getting Dalton Kincaid. I think you have a good young receiving core in Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. Now, obviously, you're going to want to build around that, maybe get a third receiver. You lost Allen Lazard, you lost Randall Cobb, but for now, I think you replace Robert Tonyan. I love Dalton Kincaid. He's an elusive route runner. He does have high blocking upside, great hands. He's kind of like a Travis Kelce almost, just where he's a deep threat. He's almost more of a receiving type. He is a receiving tight end, but he's almost more of a receiver just because of how fast he is and what good hands he has. So I like Dalton Kincaid to the Packers. And like I said, he has high upside as a blocker as well. And then up next, we have the Lions. I think they follow not at pick 16. I thought this was pick 18, my mistake. At pick 16, I'm looking at the board, and I see Devon Witherspoon is still there. I think that would be a steal. If you can trade down from pick 6, you get a lot of draft capital, and at pick 16, you can still land Devon Witherspoon for your secondary. I think that is an absolute steal for the Packers, and if they could pull that off, that would be one of the best draft picks ever. I think that's great. And again, you could go someone like Lucas Van Ness here to get some help on that defensive front. But to me, I'm looking at Devon Witherspoon at pick 16, and the value is just too good. And they did upgrade that secondary a lot this offseason. I think Devon Witherspoon would kind of be the final piece to solidify it, and I love him, especially at pick 16 to the to the Lions. At pick 17, we have the Steelers, and Devon Witherspoon just got taken off the board 1 pick ahead of us. That is a bummer. I could see them going Joey Porter. His dad was a linebacker for Pittsburgh. That is kind of nice when you have that connection. I could see them going Joey Porter. They do need help in the secondary, and Joey Porter, I think, fits exactly what the Steelers look for in cornerbacks. To me, though, I think you want to protect Kenny Pickett as much as possible. I think Kenny Pickett is going to have a breakout year, and you really need to protect him in order for him to have that. They have upgraded that offensive line a lot, and I think you solidify it and get the final piece to that O-line by taking Broderick Jones. He can play left tackle. He's very good at left tackle. He can also play right tackle, though he's very versatile as a tackle. I love Broderick Jones. I think he's great, and I think he's kind of like that final piece to protect Kenny Pickett. And then at pick 18, we have the Lions, and they had at pick 16, they got Devon Witherspoon. Lucas Van Ness is still on the board. Bryan Bresee, they could go defensive front here. To me, though, I'm looking at the other side of the ball, and I'm looking at Michael Mayer. That offense is going to be so good this year. I'm telling you, if they can land Michael Mayer at pick 18, I think that's going to be one of the best offenses in the league. Michael Mayer, who is a great blocking tight end. He has great hands. He doesn't have the biggest run after the catch upside, but he can catch anything in contested catches. He has great hands. He's not necessarily the fastest, but he's just a smooth route runner. And again, he's a great blocking tight end. I think Michael Mayer is exactly what that offense needs. And again, I'm telling you, Jameson Williams coming back, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Michael Mayer, Jerry Goff. He's good to me. I don't think they need to go quarterback. I think you give him enough weapons, and that offense is going to shine. And I really like Michael Mayer. And again, you could go defensive front here and someone like Bryan Bresee, Nolan Smith, Lucas Van Ness, but I think you get Michael Mayer, and that offense is going to be scary this season. Pick number 19, we have the Eagles, and I have them going safety Brian Branch. I think that's one of their biggest needs right now on defense especially. You lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You want to get some versatility in the backfield. Brian Branch is just that. He's a safety. He's versatile. He can play in the nickel, but he can also play out wide, and I like him. He's a smooth, hard hitter, smart player. I think he's exactly what you would look for in a safety. And this is a very safety kind of weak class. And I think there is some good value at like the second, third, and fourth rounds. But, why wait when you can take the clear best safety in round one? Especially when you trade back to get draft capital. I like it at 19, much more than them taking him at pick 10. So I like it. Brian Branch to the Eagles. Pick number 20, we have the Seahawks. And at pick 5, they landed Jalen Carter on the defensive front on the interior. Now I'm looking to help that edge, and I see Lucas Van Ness is still on the board. I like him. I like Nolan Smith. I like Lucas Van Ness's upside, but to me, we got Jalen Carter. I think if you could land Nolan Smith, who also went to Georgia, and land those two teammates, that defensive front in Georgia was dominant, and I think if you can bring that right into the NFL, that would be amazing. So I like Nolan Smith here. I like Lucas Van Ness as well, but I think just pairing Nolan Smith with his teammate Jalen Carter, I think that is going to be a lethal defensive front duo, and I think it's kind of the final piece you need on that defensive front. The Seahawks had one of the worst defensive fronts last season, so I think you really focus on fixing it with your 5th and 20th overall picks, and I think it's going to be one of the scariest. It's going to go from one of the worst to one of the best defensive fronts in the NFL this year, and I like it. I like Nolan Smith. And I think that's a steal if they can get him at pick 20. At pick 21, we have the Chargers, and a couple of different positions they need. I could see them going receiver here. I don't think that's their biggest need, especially at pick 21. I think they have bigger needs than a receiver. Now, I could see them going something like Zay Flowers to get a true deep threat option who's fast. To me, though, I'm looking at the cornerbacks. I think they do need a cornerback bad to sit behind J.C. Jackson as cornerback 2. I like Deonte Banks. You look at his first look. He's big and physical. I like him. He's 6 foot, 197 pounds. I like him. I think that's exactly what they need at cornerback, kind of a cornerback 2 to solidify that secondary. Again, I also could see them going to someone like Brian Brzee, get some help on that interior. But to me, I just look at Deonte Banks still on the board. I think they need a cornerback 2, and I like him a lot. At pick 22, we have the Ravens, and they traded away Lamar Jackson, or they didn't get the 4th overall pick. They got a lot of draft capital for 2024 and 2025. So who did they go with at pick 22? I think for now, they focus on solidifying that defense. Their offense, they know it's going to be pretty bad. I imagine if they trade away Lamar Jackson, they also trade away Mark Andrews. They know that offense is going to be bad. I don't see a point in spending your 22nd on a receiver. There is some good receivers still on the board. To me, though, it just doesn't make sense when you can solidify your defense right now because you know your offense is going to be bad. To me, I'm looking at a guy like Lucas Van Ness. You need help on the edge badly. You also need help at cornerback, and I like Joey Porter. I think he would fit exactly what John Harbaugh likes in cornerbacks. Smart player. He's not the biggest cornerback in the world, but he's just smart, elusive, kind of like Brian Branch. Smart, elusive, hits hard. He's versatile. I like Joey Porter a lot, and I think Marlon Humphreys, Joey Porter, I think that'd be a very good secondary. And again, you could go someone like Lucas Van Ness. You do desperately need help on the edge as well as the interior, but I think you just focus on solidifying that secondary because you're in a division. You're going against Joe Burrow. You're going against a Steelers offense who's looking to be pretty good next season. You're going against Deshaun Watson and that offense that's looking to be very good. So I think you want to focus on your secondary and lock it down as much as possible. At pick 23 of the Vikings, and this is an interesting one. They desperately need help on defense, but I think their biggest need right now is getting a wide receiver too. I think once they get a wide receiver too, the rest of the draft class, they can focus on defense. They don't even have a lot of draft capital. They're only going to have 4 picks after this. I think you use those 4 picks to focus on defense right now. You want to get your wide receiver too. And someone said they could go Hendon Hooker here. I don't like that. I think if you want to go Hendon Hooker in like the second round, that's fine, but you have a lot of bigger needs than a quarterback right now. For this one, I think you go ahead and you take Jordan Addison, though. I like him. He's a smooth route runner, but he's also a deep threat. He's very versatile. And I like Jordan Addison, especially to the Vikings. I think you pair him up with Justin Jefferson, and that could easily be one of the best receiving duos in the league day one. At pick 24, we have the Jags, and this is the final trade I have of the draft. I think the Chiefs are looking at the receiving core. I think they see Zay Flowers at 29. Or excuse me, at 24 still available. I think if he falls to the Giants, there's a very good chance they take Zay Flowers. So if I'm the Chiefs, I'm looking to trade up with the Jags. If I'm the Jags, I'm really just looking at someone like Darnell Wright. I'm looking at potentially a guy like Osiris Torrance to protect Trevor Lawrence. And I don't see really too many linemen falling here in the final couple picks. So I'm more than happy to trade, get some more draft capital, because the Jags don't have a ton of draft capital. So I'm more than happy to trade with the Chiefs. Let's say the 31st, 63rd, and we'll say 134 for the 24th overall pick. I like it. You get some more draft capital, and I like it. Chiefs trade up for their guy, Zay Flowers. And I think Zay Flowers, he can be turned into Tyreek Hill. Both of them are 5'11", pretty small. They're both very fast. Both kind of had a small drop problem in college. I mean, obviously that can be fixed as soon as you get to the NFL. Both incredibly fast, and I think you pair Zay Flowers up with Patrick Mahomes, and I think that is going to be a very lethal duo. I could also see them going with someone like Josh Downs sitting there at pick 31, but I think Zay Flowers is the better option just because he can be such a good deep threat, and you probably can kick him into the slot if you need to. So I like Zay Flowers. The Chiefs trade up for their guy in Zay Flowers and make a little mini Tyreek Hill almost out of him. I'm very high on him, and especially with Patrick Mahomes, I think that would be an amazing quarterback receiving duo. Up next at pick 25, we have the Giants, and you just saw Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison fall, so I don't think receiver is your biggest need right at pick 25. You could go Josh Downs. The only problem with him is he's going to be limited to mainly a slot receiver. I don't think they're going to kick him out wide much to me, and you did upgrade that receiving core a lot this offseason, so I don't think that's your biggest need. I think you can wait till like the second or third round to address it. I'm looking safeties. Maybe if Brian Branch was available, he's not. I don't really think you need help on the interior. You could go Lucas Van Ness. To me, though, I'm looking at the inside offensive line, and you desperately do need a center. PFF says it's their second biggest need. I think it's one of their biggest. And you just signed Daniel Jones, that big extension. You did upgrade your receiving core. Franchise tag Saquon Barkley, so I think you want to focus on that interior offensive line. I like Luke Weipler again. He's out of Ohio State, so I obviously like him, but to me, it just comes down to who you want. You could go JMS, you could go Joe Tippmann. It just comes down to who you want. We'll just go Luke Weipler for this one. And I'm not very high on taking centers in the first round, but I don't see much value with anyone else here at pick 25. So they go Luke Weipler. They focus on that interior. I think that interior does need a little help, and I think Luke Weipler does help it a lot. Up next at pick 26, we have the Cowboys, and if Bijan Robinson is still there, which he is, I think he's a no-brainer. They franchise tagged Tony Pollard, and they released Ezekiel Elliott. They need their long-term generational talent in Bijan, and I think he is generational talent. I think he is incredible. I had them trading up with the Patriots in my last mock draft for Bijan Robinson, not in this one, but I still am very high on Bijan, and I think if he does fall, the Cowboys should take him no-brainer. Maybe if like Michael Mayer or Dalton Kincaid are on the board, they could consider tight end as well. He's not. So I like Bijan Robinson to the Cowboys at pick 26. Pick 27, the Bills. This is an interesting one. I'm looking at cornerbacks first and foremost. Emmanuel Forbes, I like. He just needs to get bigger. You look at his first look, and he's 6'1", but he's only 166 pounds. He is not very big at all. He needs to add mass. He's not very good at tackling. I like Cam Smith. I think he's a hard hitter, very smart player. I like Lucas Van Ness. So I'm looking at that edge, and I'm looking at Von Miller. Von Miller, who's nearing the end of his career. He's getting old. I think if you can get Lucas Van Ness, who I'm high on, I just think he's going to have to develop for a year or two. And I think if you can get an edge rusher who is a freak athlete, you just need to develop him behind an edge rusher. And if you can develop Lucas Van Ness behind Von Miller for a year or two, I think that would be a lethal combination for the first couple of years. And then once Von Miller does go on and leaves the Bills, whether he retires or goes to another team, I think Lucas Van Ness is going to be a great long-term edge rusher in Buffalo, so I like it. Especially, and I'm looking again, you could go someone like O'Cyrus Torrence here. I think that offensive line does desperately need help, but I just think Lucas Van Ness is too good to pass up on at pick 27, and you think of the long-term options with him, and I like him at pick 27. Up next, we have the Bengals, and I like Darnell Wright. They don't really need help at tackle, though. I'm looking at Brian Brzee. They need help on the interior. They don't really need help on the edge right now with Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. I like Brian Brzee to the Bengals a lot. You do need help on the interior. You could also go cornerback again, maybe someone like Cam Smith, Emmanuel Forbes, but I really do like I really do like Brian Brzee at pick 28 to the Bengals. I think he's explosive off the ball. He's physical. Might need time to develop, but that's okay. I like Brian Brzee. I think you get some help on that interior, because that interior was pretty bad last year. I think you get help on it. And I think with the two edge rushers, Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, I think that would be a very good trio on the defensive front. Pick 29, we have the Saints, and I'm looking at that offense. It's pretty complete. There are two things that's missing. I think you're missing a true tight end. I could see them going something like Luke Musgrave. I don't really think you want to spend your 29th overall pick on a tight end, though, especially with Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer off the board. I'm looking at that interior offensive line, and I see O'Cyrus Torrence there. I think you desperately need help on the interior. Offensive tackles are pretty solid. I think if you can solidify that inside offensive line, you're going to be looking at a pretty good offense, and I think you take the best guard in the class in O'Cyrus Torrence. Didn't allow a single sack or quarterback hit last year, and I'm very high on him. I think you protect Derek Carr as much as possible, and it starts with getting O'Cyrus Torrence, who I think would be a major move for the Saints. At pick 30, we have the Eagles, and at pick 19, they traded down, and they took Brian Branch. Who do they go with at pick 30? I think you go with an edge rusher here. I like I like a guy like Myles Murphy. I could see them going someone like a defensive lineman in Mozzie Smith. And I like Mozzie Smith. I think he's fallen this far. I think he's going to be like an early second round or a late first rounder. And I like Mozzie Smith. I really like him. I think he can replace Javon Hargrave. He's an absolute freak of nature. He is huge. You look at his first look, he is 6'3", 323 pounds. That's exactly what they're looking for, especially for replacing Javon Hargrave, a massive defensive tackle. I like him. I like him a lot. Howie Roseman loves his pass rushers, and I think you keep the immediate dominance in your pass rushing group with Mozzie Smith. And then finally, you have the Jags. They traded down with the with the Chiefs. Who do they take at pick 31? I think you're looking at offensive lineman. Osiris Torrance unfortunately got swiped right before. You could go with someone like Steve Avila. I like Darnell Wright. He can play both left and right tackle. He played left tackle in high school and I believe in the first year of his college career, and then he played primarily right tackle after that. I like Darnell Wright just because he's versatile. And you need to protect Trevor Lawrence as much as possible. It's one thing that wasn't talked about a lot, but that offensive line was pretty bad last year. So I think if you can get a final tackle who can play both left and or right tackle to solidify that offensive line, I think that offense is going to be dominant in 2023. And yeah, there you guys have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this mock draft. It was a pretty interesting one. Like I said, there were some crazy trades you probably haven't seen before. The Commanders jump up with the Lions to take Anthony Richardson. The Raiders go Kalijah Kinsey. You look here. The Giants go center. I haven't seen a lot of people mocking them to take a center. Jags trade down with the Chiefs. Chiefs jump up to take Zay Flowers. It was a pretty interesting mock draft. And like I said, some of these are going to be realistic. Some of them are not going to be. But I just like making them and explaining the potential reasoning for the picks. That's kind of like the fun thing to me. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you guys agreed with it. If you guys didn't, what you guys did and didn't agree with. And yeah, if you guys have any mock drafts you want me to check out and take a look at, let me know. Send them to me. I would love to look at them. I love looking at mock drafts, so yeah, send them to me if you do have any. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a great Easter with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's your boy, JLay. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you guys. Peace out, everybody.